Okay, good afternoon to all. This is Dr. Mahesh from Department of Management Studies, SDM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. This online class is conducted for MBA Semester 4 students in the subject of Supply Chain Management. Okay, so we are learning Unit 4, Chapter number 5, Network Design in the Supply Chain. Welcome you all to Part 2 of the chapter. So I'll quickly review what we learned in previous class. So far we have learned how a conventional network looks like. Then what is a supply chain network and what supply chain network design decisions include. Okay, the network design decisions include facility role, facility location, capacity allocation, market and supply allocation. And thereafter, we also discussed factors influencing network design decisions. And they included strategic factors, technological factors, macroeconomic factors, political factors, infrastructure, customer response time, and logistics and facility costs. So we learned how these factors have an influence on network design decisions. So we'll continue from here. So today first we learn the relationship between cost and response time. Okay. So along y-axis, it is the cost. From this point, it goes on increasing high, low to high. And along x-axis, the response time is measured. So it goes on increasing from left to right, low to high. So what we can see here is with lower response time or shorter response time means quicker delivery. So with quicker delivery, okay, the cost also will be higher. It is so because the company need to have multiple warehouses or facilities near to the markets in order to quickly deliver the goods to customers. So the increase in number of facilities increases the overall supply chain cost. And we can also see, okay, so as the response time goes on increasing, means the delivery time goes on increasing, okay, the related cost also comes down. It is so because the company will have few centralized facilities where the inventory will be centrally held in large scales. So this helps achieve economies of scale, and the company may resort to slower modes of transportation. So this is the first relationship what we understood, the cost response time frontier. Okay, the second relationship that we need to learn is response time and the number of facilities. Okay, so this is along y-axis, the response time from low to high, and the number of facilities from lesser to higher number. So as we can see here, okay, for a better response time, okay, if the company has fewer number of facilities, so as you can see here, if the company has a fewer number of facilities, the response time will be higher. Okay, so lower the number of facilities or warehouses, higher will be the response time. So you can see as the company goes on increasing number of facilities. So as the company goes on increasing number of facilities, the response time also starts decreasing. It is due to the company will have more number of warehouses closer to markets, and the orders can be quickly delivered to customers, and the company may resort to faster mode of transportation like air, as in case of Dell. So that also increases the response, decreases the response time. So with this, okay, so we'll move ahead to the next part of the chapter. Okay. So which is an illustration. So this concept what we learned here, response time and number of facilities. So what we discussed, as the number of facilities goes on increasing, the response time goes on decreasing, means the delivery to the customers will be very faster. So the same concept or relationship is illustrated in next couple of slides. Okay, so this concept, response time and the number of facilities, is illustrated in next couple of slides. So this is the map of North America. So you can see all the states in North America as Washington, Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kentucky, okay, Florida, and so on. So for such a market, so this is considered as one market. So how a company can decrease the response time, means how a company can make more faster deliveries by way of increasing number of facilities. So I repeat, response time means the time taken to deliver a goods once an order is received. And facilities means it may be a manufacturing unit or a warehouse. Okay, let us say for an online company. So how many facilities are required in America if where inventory needs to be for a 1 week order response time? Okay, so it means, so if the order has to be delivered within 7 days, how many warehouses the company should have in North America? So what you can see here is just with one distribution center. Okay, so distribution center is nothing but warehouse where the finished goods inventory is maintained. So we just with one distribution center or one warehouse, okay, the company can make a delivery to customer order within 7 days anywhere in North America. So now in coming slides, what we are going to experience is as the number of facilities increases, okay, the response time goes on decreasing, means the company will be able to deliver the goods very quickly. Okay, so if the company is willing to deliver the orders within 5 days, so if the company is willing to deliver the goods or orders within 5 days, it should have 2 distribution centers. Okay, so one in the east and one in the west, as you can see. So the geographical market allocated to this distribution center is west part of North America, and the market which is allocated to this distribution center is east part of North America. So this way, with 2 distribution centers or warehouses, okay, a company will be able to reduce the response time from 7 days to 5 days. So if the company is willing to deliver the orders within 3 days, if the company is planning to deliver the orders within 3 days, it should have 5 distribution centers, and you can see the geographical location of each distribution center: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the circle surrounding each distribution center is the market which is allocated to each distribution center or warehouse. Similarly, if the company is planning to make the delivery, okay, if the company is planning to make the order delivery on next day, means that it is within 48 hours. So if the company is planning to deliver the orders next day, means within 48 hours, okay, typically it should have 13 warehouses or 13 distribution centers, and you can see the geographic location of each of the 13 distribution centers. With this, the company will be able to deliver the orders very next day anywhere in North America. And similarly, if the company wants to deliver the orders within same day, okay, or next day, so that is within 24 hours. So if the company is planning to deliver the orders within 24 hours, it should have 26 distribution centers, and you can see the location of each distribution center in North American map. So this is exactly what we learned. If you can recall, this is what exactly we learned. Okay, so as the number of facilities increases, in the illustration it was a distribution center or warehouses, as the number of facilities goes on increasing, the response time goes on decreasing. So this is what exactly is illustrated, okay, in the previous, okay, illustration. Okay. Now some more related concepts: costs and number of facilities. Okay, costs and number of facilities. So here, okay. So how costs and number of facilities are related? So what you can see here on the y-axis is the costs from low to high, and x-axis number of facilities from few to many. So what you can see here, as the number of facilities goes on increasing, the inventory cost also goes on increasing. It is so because, okay, due to the number of facilities, definitely the infrastructure cost is going to increase, and in more number of facilities, more amount of inventory is held. Therefore, the inventory carrying cost also increases. The company will not be able to achieve economies of scale. And transportation cost, of course, transportation along with as the number of facilities goes on increasing, the transportation cost goes on decreasing. But beyond the point, if a company increases the number of facilities, the transportation cost starts slowly rising. It is so because many a times, okay, the company might have to use a less than truckload, okay, carriers, which will increase the transportation cost per unit. So the company need to know the optimal number of facilities. And finally, facility costs. Okay, so the cost of the infrastructure, land, building, machineries, assets itself, okay, also goes on increasing as the number of facilities goes on increasing. So this is how costs, different costs, that is inventory cost, facility cost, and transportation cost behave with the increase in number of facilities. Okay. So now I'm going to give a break, okay, for about 1 or 2 minutes. Those students who have any questions, you can unmute yourself, okay, and ask the question. And other students, those who do not have questions, please mute your audio, because I'm going to unmute you all at a time. Okay, any questions so far? Kiran, my voice is clear? Kiran, can you hear me? Shruti, can you hear my voice? Sai Sandeep, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear.
Voice is clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay. How about others? Diksha, can you hear me? Diksha. Okay. So if no questions, then I will continue. I'm going to mute you all again. Okay. So the next part that we're going to learn, okay, is how a company develops a framework for global network design. So how a company designs a global network. So there are many companies. Okay, for example, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Nestle for that matter, Colgate Palmolive, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. So these companies have a global network. Okay, so they exist in many countries. They have manufacturing facilities located in many countries. Okay, and they satisfy the needs of customers across several countries. So how a company which is truly global, a multinational company, goes ahead and designs its global network. It means how they decide on their suppliers, distributors, retailers, and a location of the facilities, capacity of the facilities, and how each market is allocated to each facility. Okay, so this is what we are going to learn. So broadly, this task is divided into 4 phases. Okay, the first phase is about the first phase is about determine the stages in supply chain and in-house or outsource decisions. So if you remember a traditional supply chain has 5 stages: suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and customers. Okay, so this is just for a typical FMCG company, a physical distribution channel. So this way, in phase 1, the company need to determine the number of stages in supply chain and which functions, like inventory, transportation, for example, manufacturing. So which functions will be performed in-house and outsourced. Phase 2, the company needs to identify, or the company identifies the regions where facilities will be located. Facility, when I say manufacturing unit or warehouses, and also the role of facility and capacity of the facility is also identified during this phase. Phase 3, the company selects a set of desirable potential sites within each region and evaluates these potential sites. And in phase 4, it selects a precise location for its facilities and capacity allocation for each facility. Okay, so we are going to learn in detail about the 4 phases in next slide, and thereafter we are going to have one more illustration of how a company selects a set of desirable potential sites and allocates capacity to each of the facilities. Okay, so this is how a framework for global network design decision looks like. So in phase 1, the company needs to design its supply chain. Okay, so in that they need to consider the competitive strategy. So if you remember, so in how this company is going to satisfy the customer needs, how this company is going to fulfill the customer needs. So I gave you an example, if you remember, like Domino's and Pizza Hut. So initially, most of the Pizza Hut's business came from the customers who visited Pizza Hut. Therefore, they maintained a large menu. And Domino's, in turn, 80% of its business came from orders, telephone orders. So that way, Domino's pizza restaurants were relatively smaller in size, relatively I said, and the menu was also relatively smaller. So that is what a competitive strategy is. So at this stage, the company needs to determine its competitive strategy. And in second factor that needs to be considered here is global competition. So if Domino's is going to design its supply chain around the business model of satisfying the customer needs, in a unique way. So whom they are competing against? Like directly they'll be competing against Pizza Hut and other restaurants. So other than that, other quick service restaurants like McDonald's, KFC also, they will be competing. So indirectly they will be competing against the local restaurants as well. So these all factors have to be taken into account while designing the supply chain. Then third factor, internal constraints, like capital available or how much capital they need to arrange for, and the existing network of the company, if any. All these factors have to be taken into account before designing the supply chain in phase 1. And in phase 2, the company configures the regional facilities. So I repeat, in stage 2, the company configures the regional facilities. So here the factors to be considered are regional demand. So you can either consider a continent as a region or a country as a region depending on the study. So if I consider India as one region, for example, for a new multinational company. So they need to consider size of the market or size of the demand. So what is the total market potential for such a product? So at what rate, if the market is already existing, at what rate the market is growing? So homogeneity, so how many similar products are available? Then local specifications, so what exactly the local customers demanding? So this is about the regional demand. This much information the company needs to collect. Second factor during phase 2 to be considered is production technologies. The cost of the production technologies the company is planning to adopt. The scale. So whether it is going to be large scale or medium scale they want to start, and its impact. Support required for the company to start its supply chain, and how flexible the supply chain would be. So these factors have to be taken into account. So if you remember, I have sent you a case study, as part of a CTA. So in that McDonald's supply chain, so you can recall some points from the McDonald's supply chain in India. So these factors, how they considered them. Then third factor is political factors, how stable a government is. That is very important. Then exchange rate. So since McDonald's is a multinational company, so what is the exchange rate between US and India, and how it may affect the supply chain profits and the demand risk. Fourth factor to be considered is tariffs and tax incentives. So if there are imports and exports are involved, in the operations of a business firm, so definitely, so the country in which you are going to operate, so if you are going to import certain raw materials, how it will affect your overall supply chain cost and profits. The tariffs and tax incentives have to be taken into account in different regions. And finally, the competitive environment of Indian market and how our company strategy is going to be different. So after this evaluation in phase 3, the company needs to identify the desirable sites in which it is planning to start its facilities. Facility may be a manufacturing unit or a distribution center or warehouse. So it needs to know the hard infrastructure required. For example, water, electricity, road, connectivity, and so on. Soft infrastructure requirements are skilled workforce, for example, technology required, if any. So these are the soft infrastructure required. So those sites, that provide for better hard and soft infrastructure, so definitely those sites will be considered by the company. And in the fourth stage, so where they make the location choice in which they are going to start their facility, so they need to consider the factor costs like labor cost, material cost, specific site cost, etc., and the logistics cost like transportation, inventory carrying cost, coordination, etc. Say for example, Goa, if you consider, there is a place called Vasco da Gama in Goa. So that is connected by airport. It has an international airport, and there is a port as well, Murgaon port. Then as well as it is connected by road. So and it is connected by railway as well. So Vasco da Gama or Goa is connected by all the 4 modes of transportation. So this way, and what will be the logistics cost, and coordination cost in each desired sites. So this way, the company analyzes each of the factors during each of the phases. And finally, they decide upon the specific site and location for a facility, and they start the facility in that specific region and location. Now, so related to this, related to the previous model, we are going to learn some models for facility location and capacity allocation. So I'll explain the meaning. Please pay attention. Meaning of facility location and capacity allocation. Say if it is a global company and wants to start, want to satisfy the customer needs across the globe. Say for example, they want to satisfy the customer needs in Africa, Europe, Asia, as well as America. So they should have multiple facilities. So here when we say facility location, so if the company is planning to start 4 facilities or 4 manufacturing units, in which continent and in which country each of the factory should be located, where they should open the factory. That is the one decision. And second decision is the capacity allocation. So what should be the production capacity of each factory or each facility? Okay, so to take these decisions, facility location, where the facility should be located, in which country or which site, and what should be the production capacity of each factory. So there are certain models which are used. So we are going to consider one model, okay, and we are also going to have a illustration of the same. So after which I am going to entertain your questions. So from here onwards, it is a single illustration. So I request your attention, all the students. Please pay attention. Okay. So the goal is when locating facilities and allocating capacity is profitability of the supply chain and customer responsiveness. It means the company should identify such geographical locations for its facilities and allocate the optimum capacity to each facility in such a way where the profitability of supply chain can be maximum and the customer responsiveness also can be maximum. So for this purpose, so to achieve this goal, many companies use this model which is called as network design models. Okay, so I repeat, to achieve this goal, many companies use something called as network design models. Okay, so these network design models are used in two situations. The first one, to decide on locations where facilities will be established and capacity to be assigned to each facility, which I explained here. The second situation where network design models are used are to assign current demand to available facilities and identify lanes along which product will be transported. So for both these situations, we are going to have a illustration. So please pay attention. Okay, so these network optimization models are used in phase 2 of the global network design decisions. So what we are going to illustrate in next slides is how a company uses network design models to allocate demand to production facilities and how it uses the network optimization models to locate facilities and allocate capacity. So in our illustration, which is mentioned in the textbook, we are going to consider the example of Sun Oil. So here we are talking about a petrochemical company, okay, and not edible oil. So it is a petrochemical company. Okay. So the first step in using network optimization model is to collect data on demand, production and transportation costs. So I repeat, the first step in using network optimization model is to collect data on demand, production and transportation costs. The vice president of supply chain of Sun Oil decides to view the worldwide demand in terms of 5 regions. So we are considering this illustration for global network design decisions. So the vice president of supply chain decides to view the worldwide demand in terms of 5 regions. So data collected above regarding the above are shown in figure 5.3 in next figure. Okay, so these are the demand data. So please look at the cursor. Okay, so this is the demand region: North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. Okay, and the demand is mentioned here. What you can see, the demand in North America is at 12 million units. So you can see here demand data is mentioned in millions of units. So the demand in North America is 12 million units. The demand in South America is 8 million units. The demand in Europe is 14 million units. The demand in Asia is 16 million units. The demand in Africa is 7 million units. Okay, so this is the demand data, okay, which we just saw. Next, annual demand for each region. Annual demand for each region is shown in cells B9 to F9. That is what we saw. So as you can see here, B9 to F9. That is what just we saw. Then cells B4 to F8. cells B4 to F8 contain the variable cost for producing in one region to meet demand in each individual region. Okay, so B4 to F8. So if you consider B4 to F8, it is still here. So from here till here, so all this data. So this cost data, production and transportation cost per 1 million units is given here, and this variable cost is measured in thousands of dollars. The cost data is given in thousands of dollars. So how we read it? Say for example, if you manufacture in North America, it is a supply region. Supply regions are where the facilities will be located, where the manufacturing units will be located. North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. So if you manufacture in North America and supply in North America, for 1 million units, it would cost 81,000 production and transportation cost. Similarly, if you manufacture in North America and supply to South American market, it would cost $92,000 for 1 million units. Same way, if you manufacture in North America and supply to European market, it would incur a cost of $101,000 for 1 million units. So similarly, you can consider Africa, for example. So if you manufacture in Africa and supply to North America, it would cost $142,000 for 1 million units. So what you can see here is as the distance between the supply region and demand region goes on increasing, the production and transportation cost also goes on increasing. You can clearly make it here. So make in North America and sell in North America, the cost is lowest. When you make in North America and supply to South America, the cost increases to 92,000. When you make in North America and sell in European market, the cost increases to 101,000. So when you make in North America and supply to Asia, as the distance further increases, okay, the production and transportation cost is highest as the distance is highest. Okay. Then in the same table, it is also have, the company has two options to have two types of factories, one with a low capacity, 10 million production capacity, and a larger capacity plants which will have 20 million production capacity, which can also be seen here. So these are the low production capacity plants with a 10 million. So company can have one plant in each of the supply region with a lower capacity of 10 million units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it can have one high capacity plant with a 20 million production capacity in each of the regions. Okay, so this is where hardly 1 minute time is remaining. So I will end the class here. So still we have 1 minute. If you have any questions, you can ask. If you are unable to ask, please call me and clarify your doubts. Okay, so and with this I will conclude. Okay, I am going to unmute you all so that you can ask questions. Please do not make noise. Please do not make noise. Okay, any questions? Any questions? So I have understood all the data, all the figures that are there in this. Sai, Sandeep, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, audio is clear. Okay, students who have unmuted their audio, okay, at any point in time, if the audio is not clear, you can call me and inform me after the class. Without your feedback, I will not be able to understand whether the audio is clear. Okay, so I cannot hear any questions. So I hope there are no questions. Then still, if you have any question, you can call me. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಕ್ ಅಂತ ಬಿಟ್ಟಾನ